Welcome back students. In this video tutorial, I am going to talk about marker assisted selection or MAS. In previous lecture, we have already studied about what is meant by marker and basic terminologies which is associated with marker assisted selection. In this lecture, we are going to learn about what are the important steps involved in marker assisted selection, its applications, merits and demerits. But before start of this lecture, I would like to recall few terminologies such as what is meant by marker. So you know that any property of an individual showing a heritable variation is called as a character. So such a characters, when it can be easily identified, so those characters are termed as a marker characters. So those characters we are using for making a selection, therefore that is called as a markers. Or marker is nothing but it is a piece of DNA. It is a piece of DNA which is associated with trait of interest in an organism. Okay. So it is a small piece of DNA which is maybe tightly linked or loosely linked to the character. When we identify that piece of DNA, it will also give more chances to observe the same character in that individual. So marker assisted selection is nothing but it is a indirect type of selection. So here we are not going into field every time to make a selection by observing the phenotype of individual. Therefore, it is called as a indirect selection. Here we are not assessing the phenotype of any individual. Therefore, it is called as a indirect selection. Okay. So, indirect selection for a desired plant phenotype based on the banding pattern of a linked molecular markers. So, in this type of selection, what we are doing? We are observing the banding pattern of individuals. Suppose you are having two individuals you have taken. So, we just observing, suppose this is your plant number 1, this is your banding pattern of your plant number 2. Likewise, by observing the banding pattern, so this is a banding pattern for individual P1. This will be for your P2 and this will be for your P3. So by observing such type of banding pattern, we are making the selection of individual plants on the basis of linked molecular marker. Okay. So this concept is based on the presence of gene in the vicinity of this. In the vicinity of that gene, we are having the marker which is tightly linked to the gene of interest. So, for marker assisted selection, we require a marker which is tightly linked to the gene of interest, and that gene is governing our specific breeding objective. Then only marker assisted selection will be possible. So, there are two types of marker assisted selection. Either we can go with the foreground selection or background selection. So, in case of foreground selection, it refers to the using markers that are tightly linked to the gene of interest in order to select for a target allele or gene. So, in case of foreground selection, your markers are tightly linked to the gene of interest which will favor the direct selection of target allele or gene, while in case of background selection, it refers to the markers that are not tightly linked to the gene of interest, and therefore when you are making a selection of target allele or gene, in that case marker is your far away, or they are not lying in the close proximity of your gene of interest. So next point is steps in marker assisted selection or a procedure of marker assisted selection. So in case of marker assisted selection, generally RFLP, that is restriction fragment length polymorphism markers, are widely used for making genetic improvement in crop plant for various economic character. So in case of your marker assisted selection, it is also called as a marker added selection. So 5 important steps are there. First one is selection of parent. Second one is a development of breeding population, isolation of DNA from each plant. Fourth one is the scoring of your RFLP, and finally correlation of this banding pattern with your morphological trait. So one by one we are going to see these 5 steps. So here just we are having an overview. First we have to, after making a selection of parent, we have to do a leaf tissue sampling. So we have to take a leaf sample from your whole plant. Then we have to go for a DNA isolation by using certain DNA extraction methods such as CTAB. Then we have to do PCR amplification of your DNA product, and finally we are running them on gel electrophoresis. And after running this DNA on gel, you will get such type of banding pattern. So you have to do a analysis of that banding pattern. Okay. So first, after selection of parent, you have to go for a leaf sampling. After leaf sampling, by using certain chemical, you have to crush that leaf and isolate the DNA in lab. After isolation, you have to go for a PCR amplification. After formulation of PCR products, you have to run them on a gel electrophoresis. So either agarose gel or polyacrylamide gel we can use, and after that you have to observe the banding pattern and do the proper analysis. Okay, so these are the general overview of your marker genotyping. So first step is selection of parent. So selection of suitable parent is a very important step in your marker assisted selection. The parents we can select here, which is showing us a usable level of polymorphism. So both parents should have a variation. Okay, so they are genotypically different in your RFLP scorings. When you score them with the help of RFLP, so they should have a certain different banding pattern, or in other words we can say parents with contrasting character or divergent origin should be chosen here. Same like your other methods, both parents should have a genetically dissimilarities, so that it will help you to identify the new population, or also their segments in F2 generation. So for selection of parents, we have to screen germplasm and select parents with distinct DNA. So whatever material germplasm you are having, you have to isolate the DNA. After isolation, you have to run by making PCR products, you have to run them on gel, and by visualizing their banding pattern, those parents or those germplasm showing you a maximum diversity, maximum distinguishes, such a parents we should have to select here for breeding purpose. Okay, so the parents we are using for marker assisted selection should have a homozygosity. They are homozygosity, they are pure lines or maybe 100% homozygous. So in case of cross pollinated crop, inbred lines are generally used here as a parent for marker assisted selection. Then second step is development of breeding population. So after selection, you have to make a cross between this selected parent to get a F1 seeds. So F1 between these two pure line or inbred lines are homogeneous, as well as sometimes heterozygous for all the RFLPs. Okay, plants are homogeneous but heterozygous. So you have to grow from F1 seeds its F2 progeny, and that F2 generation we are using here for studying the segregation pattern or banding pattern. So generally from 50 to 100 F2 plants we are doing a leaf sampling for a study of this segregation pattern of RFLP markers. So leaves are collected from this 50 to 100 F2 plants. After that you have to go for a isolation of DNA. So generally this DNA is isolated by using a CTAB method. So you can search on internet, you will get details about this method. So major advantage of this marker assisted selection is that we not need to destroy a complete plant for isolation of DNA, as well as we can do a sampling or leaf excision or DNA isolation even from seedling stage. So we not need to wait till flowering or seed development stage. So the process we can start earlier. So that will going to save our time. And it is also possible to isolate the DNA from each plant of your F2 population. So standard procedures such as CTAB we can use for DNA isolation. So for isolation we require a certain specific restriction enzymes that can be used for a separation of DNA. So DNA fragments of different size are separated by subjecting the digested DNA to agarose-gel electrophoresis. So after running a gel, you have to stain it with ethidium bromide, and the variation in DNA fragment we can view in the ultraviolet light. So DNA of your chloroplast, when going to be digested with using certain specific enzymes, they will yield about 40 fragments of different size, while the nuclear DNA of your higher plant, when you are going to digest it with a specific restriction enzyme, they will produce a millions of fragment, which is in a continuous range of size. So when you are using a nuclear DNA, then your job will be tedious. So it is not easy to identify individual DNA fragment in such cases, and therefore we are using a leaf sample here, because they will yield 40 fragment, which is easy to assess or easy to observe. So for DNA extraction we have to go in the field, do the leaf excision at any stage from seedling up to your maturity stage. After that, by using mortar pestle or porcelain grinding plates, we have to crush the leaf sample by using a specific chemical which is given in your specific procedure, and after that you have to do DNA isolation. Then after DNA isolation, you have to check the DNA quality by using certain equipment, geno grinder or nano drop. Such type of machineries are available, equipments are also. So geno grinder is also used here for extraction purpose, for crushing purpose. Okay, so you can use them to extract DNA. After that, after extraction, you have to do a PCR. So for that, whatever DNA extracted, you have to add such type of, if PENDOP tubes are there, then PCR buffer, magnesium chloride, DNTPS, packed polymerize, primers you should have to add in this bottle, and then you have to go for a PCR. So such type of machineries are available called as thermal cycling machines or PCR machines, polymerase chain reactions. So you should have to do by running a specific program, you will get a digestion of your DNA as well as replications. Then after that you have to run them on gel electrophoresis. So agar gel we can use or acrylamide gels we can utilize for running this type of DNA. So you can see here such type of equipments are there, horizontal or vertical. So in cassette, so this is called as a cassette. In that you have to pour your gel. After pouring you have to place them in such type of equipment called as gel electrophoresis unit. After placing them you have to load your DNA on this gel. After that you have to run for 1 hour or 2 hours as per the pace given in your protocol. Then you have to analyze your gel image by putting in such type of equipments, and you will observe such type of banding pattern. Okay, so this is the agar gel electrophoresis. Then acrylamide gel electrophoresis, it has a vertical unit. So procedure is same. You have to first prepare a gel, load your DNA and observe on this gel dock machine. So such type of banding pattern you can observe. Okay, so such type of units are there. The next point is scoring of RFLPs. So the polymorphism which is present in this RFLP markers between parent and their offspring, which is involved in the F2 population, is determined by using a DNA probes. So labeled probes are used here to find out the fragments having similarity. So the probe will hybridize only with those segments which is complementary in nature. So generally 32P, the isotopic form of phosphorus, which is used for radioactive labeling of DNA probe. So that will be used here. But nowadays we are also having a non-radioactive probe labeling techniques that can be also utilized here for scoring of your RFLPs. After scoring, you have to make a correlation with morphological traits. So DNA markers are correlated with morphological markers, and the indirect selection through molecular markers is confirmed. So you have to observe. So once the correlation of molecular marker is established with morphological marker, you can use that for genetic improvement of various economic traits. The next point is application of marker assisted selection. So it is a very effective, efficient and rapid method of transferring resistant to biotic and abiotic traces. It is also useful in gene pyramiding for disease and insect resistance. It is also used to transfer a male sterility as well as photoperiod insensitivity into cultivated genotype. Mass also used for making improvement of quality character in different crops such as protein quality in maize, fatty acid content in soybean, storage quality, etc. Mass is successfully used for transferring desirable transgenes such as Bt gene from one cultivar to another cultivar. Then it is also effective method for introgation of desirable gene from wild to cultivated genotypes. Then it is equally effective in genetic improvement of plant and animal. It is a very useful method because it saves our time. Normally, in case of tree passes, it required near about 20 years to develop a new variety. But by using this mass application, we can develop these varieties in fruit crops earlier. So, mass is used for genetic improvement of oligogenic traits as compared to the polygenic traits. So here we are having a few achievements. So in case of rice crop, there is bacterial varieties are developed for bacterial blight, blast, rice virus, gall maize by using this marker assisted selection. In the same way, for green leaf hopper and BPH, also varieties are developed by using the marker assisted selection. So in case of maize, northern corn blight resistance gene is transferred by using this marker assisted selection. So here we are having a few example. So next point is advantages of marker assisted selection. So as I already told you, it is a method which give you high accuracy because molecular markers are not affected by environmental condition, and therefore you can use these molecular markers in those crop or for those character which is having a low heritability. Then next one, it is a rapid method of crop improvement because it takes 3 to 5 years for developing new cultivar against 10 to 15 years which is taken by your conventional methods of breeding. Then non-transgenic product, whatever varieties are developed which are non-transgenic because they are not containing transgene. Here we can't incorporate. Here we are using marker only for making selection. So we are not incorporating any foreign gene in the final product. So no question of gene silencing. So identification of recessive allele is also possible even in a heterozygous condition by using marker assisted selection, and therefore it is going to speed up the progress of crop improvement program. So it is equally effective for genetic improvement of plants or characters which is governed by recessive genes. The next one, early detection of traits. So in this method we not have to wait for development of grain, fruit, flower color, etc., etc. At a seedling stage, it is possible to do isolation of DNA and observe their expression. So early detection of trait is possible with this method. We not need to wait until that condition arise or that stage arise to observe the phenotype. The next one, screening of difficult trait is also possible with marker assisted selection, such as root morphology resistant to biotic or abiotic traces is very easy through marker assisted selection. Then next point is gene pyramiding. So it is also a very effective method to accumulate the multiple gene for resistance to specific pathogen or pest within the same cultivar. So accumulation of multiple gene in one crop, that is called as gene pyramiding. So this method is also helpful. So that is marker assisted backcrossing we can use here, through which we can incorporate large number of disease resistant gene in one variety or one line. The next one, small sample for testing. Marker assisted selection required a small amount of plant tissue for DNA testing, or a small breeding populations are required for screening purpose, as well as it can be applied to any stage of plant growth. It also permit QTL mapping. So it also permit tagging of quantitative trace loci, which is not possible by conventional breeding methods. The next one, highly reproducible. So marker assisted selection is based on DNA fingerprinting technique, which result the DNA fingerprinting pattern are highly reliable and reproducible. Therefore, you can produce it again and again. The next point is limitation. Marker assisted selection is a costly method because it requires a well-equipped laboratory, expensive chemicals, glasswares, etc. So the cost is more. The next, it requires a well-trained manpower for handling of this sophisticated equipment, isolation of DNA molecule, etc. Then detection of various linked markers is a difficult, laborious and time consuming task. So scoring and making correlation of this RFLP or other marker product is a little bit difficult, laborious and time consuming job. Okay. It also involves sometime use of radioactive isotopes in labeling of DNA, which may lead a serious health hazard. So that is also problem here. So that is a major disadvantage of RFLP based markers. While the PCR markers are little bit safe in this regard, they don't require the use of this kind of isotopes. So marker may become less efficient if compared to your phenotypic selection in long term. If long term breeding is required, so in that case your marker assisted selection is less efficient. So use of marker assisted selection is more difficult for QTL because they have minor cumulative effects and they are greatly influenced by the environmental condition and genetic background. So in that case marker assisted selection is more difficult. So this is all about marker assisted selection. Thank you.